there, viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. Got the 2018 Hemi Dodge Ram. It's got the big 5.7, and he writes, check engine light is on. Cruise does not work all the time since the light has come on. The Eco has not worked since the light has come on. That one makes sense. The Cruise doesn't, though. Sometimes when trying to put the cruise control on, the transmission changes gears instead of the cruise control coming on. I did experience that. I took it for a quick shimmy. I thought I hit the wrong button. All the cruise buttons and the gear shift buttons are on the right side steering wheel control, and I swear I hit cruise set and it, dropped down into second gear and then went to like 9,000 RPMs. If I turn the cruise control on before driving, it'll work most of the time. If I clear the light by disconnecting the battery, everything works perfect. So, here's what I think. Well, I won't beat around the bush. Let me show you what I think. No disrespect to this fella or anything, but it's a smoker's truck. You can tell because it smells like cigarettes, and when you try to look out the windows, they have an extremely thick film of nicotine and tar on it, and so doesn't all of the buttons and everything inside the vehicle. These buttons are really just kind of weird, kind of sticky. Like I say, we've got our gear shift up and down. We've got on, off, set cruise. When I was driving down the road, you could turn it on and off. The cruise comes up on the dash on and off. I could set it. I turned the cruise on and off multiple times, but the one time that I did do it, I swear I hit, the cruise button, but it downshifted the vehicle, and I would have been over here hitting set. And all of a sudden it did. It dropped it right down. I was in third gear, dropped it down into second gear pretty aggressively. I was like, oh, that was weird. I hit the gear up button 5 or 6 times, got it back in the drive, hit set, and we're off to the races. I don't believe that's going to have anything to do with the engine light. I've got the old Altel in here. And I've never seen a Dodge that sets an engine light that disables cruise, like on a Subaru, for example. The Eco feature, I can understand that not functioning depending on what the code is, but I can't fathom that it has anything to do with the cruise. I think we're dealing with two separate issues here. We will get this little guy auto IDing. I'll get this doing a full scan. It's going to be a secure gateway vehicle, so we've got to log into our Auto Authority account. We'll throw a charger on that. Keep her up to snuff. Yeah, see, it wants to make sure we're connected to the internet. It's gonna go ahead and check our Auto Auth ID to make sure we can get into everything. So I'll let that finish. Let's hook a charger to this baby. Whoa, Hemi! Do we have some mouse stuff here? There's something here. Hood blanket's a little chewed up. I don't smell any mice. Okay, let's throw by charger I mean just a maintainer. Just keep battery from going dead. Oh, that was quick. Let's see, so we have 7 codes. Okay, in the engine controller we have 3401 cylinder 1 deactivation control circuit. Okay, so this engine has your displacement on demand, or I guess Dodge calls it MDS, your multiple displacement system, or multi-cylinder displacement. I don't know. It shuts the damn cylinders off. That's all you need to know. And it doesn't work. So that's probably why the Eco light's not coming on. We've got a stored code for a 456 small EVAP leak. Okay, here we go. TCM, implausible up-down shifter data received. Imagine that. Lost comm with switch bank module. The switch bank on a Chrysler, that is not the buttons. That's the switch bank. That's the switches. We learned this on a previous video we did on a Jeep Patriot, or one of those little junker Jeeps there, whatever it was, or not Liberty, I don't know. But the switch bank is the series of switches below the radio module. Vehicle configuration not programmed. Oh, that's an old code in the radio. Okay, here we go. Speed control switch to performance, and speed control 1-2 correlation. Oh, okay. So that would make sense. That's stored in the steering control module. All right, well that makes sense. Like I say, I think this is two totally separate problems. I think it is a coincidence that if he unhooks his battery that the speed control works good, because that doesn't have anything to do with the check engine light. Cylinder deactivation control circuit, these shut off 4 cylinders. I don't remember what they are, 1, 4, 6, and 7, something like that. So this is going to be one, yeah, I mean obviously cylinder 1. It's going to be one of the 4, you know, gosh, use your words. One of the 4 solenoids that controls the cylinder deactivation, sends oil pressure lifter to deactivate it. Okay, let's look at the engine light first. See the cylinder deactivation. So we'll go in here, we will go to powertrain, we'll go to ECM, and we will see what kind of data we have on the cylinder deactivation. Let's see if we have bidirectional control so we can turn it on and off, see if we can hear it buzzing or whatever. I'm not going to bore you with this because I'm going to have to look for it for a little bit here. We'll find out where it is and then come up with our test. Could be just a bad solenoid, could be anything, broken wire. There we go, cylinder deactivation. Yeah, 1, 4, 6, and 7. Wow. Control state. We'll get some live data here. There we go, cylinder 1. MDS, yeah, let's see. Looks like everything's locked up here, so we can't do anything. Sometimes Altel's not great on Chryslers. There we go. Just took it a while. It says it's active. Control state's on. I'll have to go over here under the hood to see if I can hear it. I don't know if these are audible, if you can hear them clicking or not. Currently, I have it toggling from on to off. I don't hear anything. Let's pick one that doesn't have a code, like cylinder 4, for example. We'll go in here and toggle that one. We'll just select our MDS stuff again. We'll get this one. Yep, I can hear this. Yep, you can hear that one clicking. Let me get you guys down there. Okay, so we can hear cylinder 4. Of course, you hear that high-pitched humming. That's the throttle body over there. Then we go back to cylinder 1. Oh. I didn't bring up any live data. I must have skipped that screen. Yeah, we definitely don't hear cylinder 1 clicking. Just for poop and laughter, let's pick cylinder 6. Slippery little guy. Yeah, you can hear cylinder 6. Yep, okay. And then let's just listen to cylinder 7. Let's listen to one that's on this side of the engine, just so we have an idea of what we're listening for, even though I think we already know. Oh, it is quite faint. Yeah, you can hear 7, but it is quite faint. I would say, what is it, cylinder 2 or cylinder 4 over there definitely was the most noticeable. Okay, let's look at a wiring diagram, see who powers these. I imagine they probably come from the same power source. I don't really want to pull the intake. We'll get that off there probably. Let's have to see if we can find a general connector. I would assume if it was a connection issue, we would have a circuit code. Or wait a minute, did we have a circuit code? Could be. Oh yeah, we did. We do have a circuit code. Okay, well let me look at a diagram, see what this thing's made out of. Get a pointing apparatus here. There we go. So we have cylinder 1, MDS solenoid, cylinder 1, 6, 4, and 7. They all utilize the same ground that the VTEC uses, the variable camshaft timing solenoid. The VTEC, they utilize the same ground, not to say that this splice isn't bad. Very well could be. Whoops. You mother lover. You switch hands here. Okay, then we have a connector. Connector I270, same one that is the connector for the ground. And then being that they're ground, that means they have to be power side switched from the PCM. So let's do this. Let's see, I270. Sometimes Mitchell's not great for finding connectors real quick, but it's because I'm not super familiar with it. I think it's an I, right? 270. All right, that didn't work. I don't think their diagrams are interactive. Let's enhance. Nope, they're not interactive. Let me switch to a different program here. You could probably find it on Mitchell, but we ain't got all day. And the reason I can't find it on ProDemand is because it's not really a numbered connector, unfortunately. Because I look on the OEM diagram, and in true Chrysler fashion, we've seen this before where they label stuff inline dash or just inline connector. That's why the connector number starts with an I, but on this one they just call it inline engine multi-displacement solenoid. Needless to say, it's easier to just pop the hood and look, because I was pretty sure this is the one we're talking about, and it's that little guy. Enhance. I can only assume, because that's that connector that plugs into all the solenoids under the intake. Visual inspection up here, I didn't see anything right off. Of course, I didn't look real hard either, but it runs from the PCM over there. Around town, you got the noisy stool in the background, and then, you know, to that connector. So let me set you guys up. We'll have a little gander with a mirror. I do see some mouse feces. There's a big turd for you. So there's some mouse turds here. It doesn't smell real mousy under here, but let's have a look with a mirror before we even do anything, because if that wires are all chewed off the back of that connector or something, or at least one of them is, possibly. Oh, way back, the way back time machine. Well, I don't see anything, and just dry and dusty. I guess we could probably look under here. I don't remember, I think these have a cover on them though, don't they? I don't remember, it's been a while. No, I think they sit out in the open. I can see the one over on that side. So what are we looking at? Cylinder 1. Before we do that, let's make sure we have control. You gotta get control of yourself, man. And to do that, oh baby, we're gonna reach way back. Come on, you mother. The connector assurance program, aka the red lock. Red lock that makes you want to jump off a bridge. Oh yeah! That's why we have a little bit of a belly. Gives you protection. Okay, here we go. Connector is unplugged. Wire colors are identifiable. Oof. Find my step stool again. I do, before we get a zillion comments, I do own a topside creeper. If I was doing some major work like pulling the intake manifold off of this, well, we'd go get it, but we're not. We're just gonna make one simple test and then we're gonna make a call. What we're gonna look for here is ground, which we know is good, and we're gonna be looking for the power input, which is the unknown from the PCM, to the number 1 solenoid, because we know they're grounded, full-time ground, power side switched. We tell it by the diagram. If we have that, at that point, I would tell the customer, hey customer, you possibly have an open solenoid. Or you do have an open solenoid, but we need to pull the intake to see if it's open because of mice or open because it's just a bad solenoid. I don't want to pull the intake all off and say, hey, you need this. And he's like, well, I don't know. And then we put it all back together. And then a week later, he says, yeah, I want to do it. We tear it all back apart. See what I'm saying? All right, let's get our test light. We will grab our very favorite Astro Tools scope on a rope, complete with vice grips. We will click it onto the battery negative. We'll make sure that it lights up when it touches something positive. And it does, and now we gotta go look at the wire color to see which is which. Alright, it's supposed to be brown. Let my dang step, man. Fell apart. Imagine that. Brown with a white stripe, pin numero uno. Which looks like that one right there, brown with white, up in the top corner. I've got it on toggle mode. Can you guys see that? It's toggling. Yeehaw. Okay, that means we have control. The ground I'm not going to check because every other solenoid grounds through it. We're not going to do a resistance check because it's not going to change our outcome, whether it's high resistance or open circuit. It doesn't matter at this point, because the end result is the same no matter what. The intake manifold still has to come off, no matter what it is, whether it's a broken wire, whether it's a bad solenoid, it doesn't matter. We're going to get Mr. Wiggles. We're going to see if we can have a peek under the intake, just to have a look-see, see if we see anything. If we don't, then that's it. So let me dig that thing out of storage. We'll hope that the battery is good in it. There, I just went to the storage, aka the toolbox. It's your depth stack. Mr. Wiggletip, aka the French tickler. There he is, right there. Look at him, folks. Let me straighten it out here. Oh yeah. Who doesn't like that guy? Let's see. We'll get turned on. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Okay. Is the picture clear? Alright, we have some clarity. Let's go. Bing bong, bing bong. We're right next to the door, digger. Can't believe the guy's not mowing his lawn. I'm gonna see what I can see, and then I'll bring you along. I don't know if I can show. I can record with this thing and do some kind of fancy editing of some sort, but we're not gonna. Let me, there's the top of, oops. Here, let me try to look in the camera while I'm looking in the camera. Ah, crap. Dang it all to heck. Long story short, I'm trying to get it back far enough here. Let me try to get it back here by the alternator. Long story short, I smell a rat. We got a big old mouse nest under there. All right, I don't know, it's probably hard to tell there in that picture. But I come under here, I don't see any broken wire, but I see it's just jammed right full of mouse material. Because if I go have a look, see on the other side. Oops. See if I can. Yeah, this side's high and dry. Yeah, you can see the solenoid, you can see the wires, you can see the rust. But on this side, Houston, we have a problem. Oops. There's a whole bunch of fuzzies underneath there. So definitely a mouse nest. Looks like this material from the hood blanket. We're gonna make the call. I'm gonna quote the customer on the harness and the solenoid. That's called plan for the worst, hope for the best. It may be just the harness, maybe the solenoid, or maybe both. And then intake gasket, these aren't too bad to do, so. We'll get a hold of him. Of course, we'll have to reschedule it because we'll have to order the parts and everything. And the car's perfectly drivable. Let's go check out the cruise problem, which I highly suspect we're going to find a failed switch, being that we have the gear shift data being implausible, and we have the 1-2 correlation implausible. And like I said, I'm not throwing shade at the guy. He's smoking a little hard out. When we get these, when you get smokers cars in, it's common to see switch failures, stuff like that, because all the tar and all the nicotine gets down into stuff so much. You know, switches get real sticky and gummed up, and you know, they just quit working, and you can tell. You know, everything's got the layer of the stuff on it, we'll call it. So I'm sure we're gonna find a bad switch. Well, the cruise control business seemed to be kind of cut and dry. The performance code that it had, I basically straight up said just replace the switch. So, well, let's just see if we can get it to goof. So I'm looking in the steering column control module. So we have our buttons here. All of these buttons, the only thing feeding them, they're kind of like a multiplexing, I guess it would be. We have a power and a ground, and then we have 2 signal wires coming out, and then a signal ground. And these are, you know, LIN bus, so to speak, to the steering column control module. The steering column control module is on the data bus, and it takes any input from these, you know, whether it's gear selection or on, off, cruise, cancel, and then it sends it out over the data bus to the appropriate module. I was able to find in service data a chart, because these don't have, like, we can't just pop this out and check the resistance spec of each one because it's not published information. You just can't. Guess you could probably figure it out based off your voltages here. At any rate, cruise control input voltage number 2, everything released 4.55 volts, and that's where it's at. Okay. When we push on off, it's supposed to go to 0.9. And it does. I don't know about cruise control 1 voltage. I don't know anything about that, if it's supposed to match for redundancy or for correlation. Typically stuff that correlates doesn't match. So 0.9 pushing on off. Okay, then it says resume is supposed to be 3.9, and it is. Set minus is supposed to be 3.3, 3.31 exactly. And then cancel, where's cancel? 1.49. So what are some possible things that could be wrong here? Our buttons could be bad, which, like I say, they're gooey. The clock spring could be bad. The wiring between this and the steering column control module could be bad, and the steering column control module could be bad itself. I'm going to hop in here, I'm going to start it up, we're going to push the button, We're going to kind of turn the steering wheel to see if any voltage variations are on the scan tool while we're doing that. Get this set back up. I don't know if I can do, if we can get the voltage. Oh, okay, we can. We get it in a graph. Let's see here. What do I want to do? I want to start it. Show selected. Okay. Let's see. I don't think I can get it where everybody can see here. Well, not really. I've got it up here. Yeah, it's going to be too hard for me to show you while I watch what I'm doing. I'll blow that up in a big graph. Oops. Yeah. So let me show you what I'm going to do. So I've got it up in a graph. I'm going to hold the on-off button, and I'm going to rotate the steering wheel to see if we're having an issue in the clock spring. All right, I'm just going to watch the voltage coming across. So that's the only switch so far that's acting a little funny. I'm just holding the wheel still. We can see a little bit of varying voltage there. Get the wheel upside down here. Oops, that's just me letting go of it. Alright, all the voltages are within spec. I don't see any change here. Like I say, the only one that's acting a little funny is the resume minus button here. We just kind of wiggle on the switch here, see if it gets it to do anything, any kind of funny business. Of course, the more that we've fiddled with these, likely the better that they'll work. Alright, well, it doesn't seem to be doing anything weird here right now. The voltages match what service data says they're supposed to, at least on input 2 voltage. Oops, go back to live data here. I don't know what the input 1 data voltage is. I suppose we can go look at some service data to see, but oftentimes with switches that are important, you'll have redundancy built into them, like I say, and they'll compare, and you'll get those correlation codes when this one says we're doing one thing, but this one says we're doing another, and that's when it says not today, and that's when you get like your performance codes because the circuits don't match. As far as the other code that we had in there, I believe it was in the transmission module for the gear buttons. Let's see here. Transmission control module. We had a code in there for the gear selector buttons not being plausible or something. Implausible up-down shifter data received. So this data, this up-down shifter data, is sent from the steering column control module to the appropriate modules that need it, which in this case is the transmission. Anytime there is a code stored in the steering column control module, it's going to have that code stored into the training module, was my understanding. Let's see, I don't want to clear these yet. I want to take and catalog them. And then I'm going to take the truck for a drive to see if we can duplicate the cruise problem and perhaps catch that switch going wonky, or try to figure out what the heck's going on here. Super common leak area right at the top of the filler neck. I just saw that we had the EVAP. We have that very small EVAP leak. I'm just going to take and clean this rust off. Put a little goo on there. Once you get it cleaned off, I just put a little bit of Sil Glide on. You don't have to goop it right up like crazy. It's just something that won't affect the rubber and will also kind of keep the rust at bay for a little while. pretty common on those. The leak there. Is that where this very small EVAP leak is? I have no idea. It's a pretty good guess. The guy who's guessing. I've got the data set up over there so I can monitor what I want to monitor. Monitor the cruise switches here. And I'll see what happens. I'm not going to try to hold the camera and run the cruise and all that, but I'm just going to drive down the road. We're going to turn the cruise on a whole bunch. We're going to see if we catch it, you know, in a fault and go from there. Well, I've driven a bunch with turning the cruise on and off. Like I said, I did get it to act up there the very first time I took off on a test drive, but that's when things were super gooey, we'll say. Like I say, no static with this guy. Just this is what it is. They were gooey. I don't know. I'll leave the option up to the customer. I highly suspect the buttons. I can't prove it any more than anybody else could. The Chrysler garage has those in stock. I don't know what that tells you. They actually have a set of just the cruise switches, nothing else. No clock springs, no airbags, nothing else. Because when I was looking up parts to see, you always want to make sure that is the part that you suspect bad, is it worth diagnosing? In this case, almost not. They're easy to change, and I think they retail at $70. My labor rate currently is $100 per hour. So do you go, you know, shoot from the hip and say, well, you know, I drove it, the switches are kind of funky, you know, you push them in, they kind of stick and they come back real slow. They're full of, you know, nicotine and tar and whatever other kinds of finger goos on there. And say that's, you know, what I suspect is going on with it. Would you like to do that, or do you want to put, you know, X amount of time into it to definitively say? Because it could be wrong. Like I say, it could be, you know, in the clock spring, which is plausible. Typically when clock springs go, more than one feature goes, usually you'll lose, you know, horn and, you know, the switch is over here, airbag light on. You'll get some other symptoms typically, not always. You know, like we mentioned, it could be in the steering column control module. Pretty unlikely, but plausible. So I'm going to leave it up to the customer. Just like the EVAP test, you know, scraping the gunk off the top of the filler neck probably is going to fix it, just in my experience. If you know, which, you know, I don't charge for something like that. I would just say, hey, you know, we can look at it for the very small EVAP leak, or, you know, we can just scrape that off. You can go drive it. If the code matures again, then, you know, then we'll trace it down. It may save them some time and money. But some people want to know every single thing, you know, regardless of the cost. Just like, I want to be definitive, I want to know it all, and that's it. I'm gonna call them and see where we're at in that regards. Sometimes I don't put a ton of time into a customer's car. You know, they give them my first hour, we kind of get our bearings where we're going, we know what's going on 100% with the MDS cylinder 1. Well, I say 100%, but, you know, we know it's, you know, there's a mouse nest under there. Chances are the wiring's, you know, cut in half once we take it off. So that we can quote on, and then I'll tell them what we did with the EVAP leak, give my thoughts on the cruise switches, and then play it by ear and see what they have to say. If I get the job with doing the MDS, obviously we'll record it. Same thing with these steering wheel switches. If we get the job on that, we'll record it. But new customer, don't know them, so I don't know where we're at. I know where you're at. That's going to be in that comment section. Questions, comments, find us on Insta, Facebook. Let me know how you handle situations similar to this in your shop. And what your approach is. Is it, you know, stick it to the customer, diag every single thing, get as much money out of them as you can? Or is it, you know, kind of be sensible, get your bearings, here's where we're at, here's what we think's going on, you know, what do you want to do from here? You know, that's the approach I'm going to use, and that's it. Let me know. I'm always curious. I'm like a cat. Insta, Facebook, in case we didn't do that. Just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.